بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. خب alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Al-Fiqh al-Istidlali, the discussion about fasting, and the topic was about someone who travels when he is fasting before midday or after midday, with the niyyah of traveling from the night before or without niyyah of traveling. In the last session we mentioned there are different groups of hadith and there are different opinions among jurists. Now we want to see which one is stronger. Tahqiqul hal. Maybe from the beginning of the book till now, this is the most difficult part because there are many different views and different hadiths. So there is discussion back and forth, and some of the rules of usul, some of the rules of especially ta'adul and tarajih are needed. In order to refresh your memory, I start from the types of hadith that we have. On the page 409, inshallah you can see on the screen, we said there are 4 groups of hadith, and then there were 5 opinions. The first group of hadith suggests that if traveling happens after midday, you must fast. If it is before Zuhr, before midday, you break your fast. This is very straightforward. This is what normally we have in Fatawa. The major point is, are you traveling after midday or before midday? This is the main thing. The second group of hadith says that if the person in the night before was thinking about traveling, then he would break the fasting. He would not fast the next day. Otherwise, he would fast. The third group, which goes to the next page, 410, was suggesting that if traveling is before Fajr, means you have not witnessed any part of the day, before Fajr you travel, you break. If it is after Fajr, even few minutes after Fajr, so you have started fasting, you must keep fasting. The fourth group was that traveling, even if it is few minutes before ghurub, is a problem. Imagine sometimes day is 16 hours, 18 hours, even if you half an hour before Maghrib, according to this group, you travel, you break your fasting. So these were 4 types of hadith, and then we had 5 types of opinions among jurists. Number 1, وجوب الإفطار بالسفر ولو قبيل الغروب. Based on the 4th group, they say no matter you had discussed niyyah, for example, niyyah for traveling or not, if you miss any part of the day, even half an hour, and you are away from your watan, you must break. وجوب الإفطار بالسفر ولو قبيل الغروب. The second opinion was وجوب الإفطار بالسفر قبل الزوال مطلقا. Whether you have talked in the night before about traveling or not, you had niyyah or not, this is not important. If you are traveling before Zohr, you break. If it is after Zohr, you finish. The third opinion was إن بينت النية لازم الإفطار. If you had niyyah of traveling, even if you travel after Zohr, you have to break. وإلا وجب الصوم. But if you didn't have niyyah of traveling, you must fast even if you travel before Zohr. If you had niyyah of traveling and you go after Zohr, here they say you have to do kind of ihtiyat. You keep imsak, don't eat, don't drink, but you repeat also as qada. And fourth was that if you didn't have niyyah of traveling for next day, you must fast mutlaq, before Zohr, after Zohr, you must fast. Otherwise, means if you didn't have niyyah of traveling the night before, then if you travel before Zohr, you break. If it is after Zohr, they say you have choice, option, to keep or to break. And the fifth opinion was in bayyata wa kharaja qabla az-zawal, had niyyah of traveling and actually traveled before Zohr, lazim al-iftar, must break. Otherwise, means either it doesn't have niyyah in the night before or didn't go before Zohr, must keep fasting. So these were 4 groups of hadith and 5 types of opinions. Now tahqiqul hal, page 412. لابد أولا من إخراج الطائفة الثالثة من أطراف التعارض. Although our conflict, ta'arud means when we have 4 groups, 2 groups, 3 groups, anyway, at least 2 groups of hadith which from perspective of sanad they are fine. Remember always ta'aruz is when sanad is agreeable. If there is one set of hadith which is verified based on sanad, another is not verified, they don't have conflict. Of the one which is not verified will leave it aside. Ta'aruz is always when both, or if there are 3, 4 parties, all parties are verified with respect to their chain of narrations. Okay? So, here we have 4 groups of hadith. But Sheikh Irwani says the 3rd group, we leave it aside. We don't need to bother that much about that. Why? لهجران مضمونها بين الأصحاب. Because none of our fuqaha has issued fatwa based on that. It's mahjur, it's abundant. Its content, although sanad is okay, but they didn't pay attention to it because there were other hadiths that were more reliable, or they knew the seerah of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and people at that time. So no one has acted according to the 3rd group of ahadith. The 3rd group was this one. دلت على أن السفر إن كان قبل الفجر لازم الإفطار وإن كان بعد الفجر لازم الصوم, even if it is for half an hour after Fajr, even if there is niyyah of traveling next day. They say no, if it is after Fajr, this is not accepted. بل هي مخالفة لكل روايات الطوائف الأخرى. All of them say that more or less there are some types of traveling during the day that breaks fasting. Yeah. For example, some say if it's after, or some say if you had niyyah from night before. Anyway, none of them accepts that if you travel after Fajr, it's fine. So we don't have that much issue with the third group. The fourth group actually cannot stand for ta'aruz. Why? Because sanad has to be verified. The fourth group has problem with sanad, so we leave it aside. As I said, ta'aruz is between hadith which are verified based on their hadith. Sanad, just dalala has problem. وكذا الطائفة الرابعة لضعفها بعبد الأعلى كما تقدم. So if you go to page 411, الرابعة دلت على أن السفر مطلقة ولو قبيل الغروب يوجب الإفطار. But the problem was إن عبد الأعلى لم يوثق. There is no توثيق for عبد الأعلى. Okay, so this is not really part of ta'aruz. So then we are only left with two groups of hadith, first group and second group. يدور الأمر بين الطائفتين الأولى والثانية. I hope up to now is clear. Now, the first group and the second group, in some cases they have agreement, in some cases they don't have agreement, they conflict. Okay? هما تتفقان في موردين وتتعارضان في موردين. In two cases none of them has problem. أما مورد الاتفاق, when you connect becomes أما مورد الاتفاق, مورد الاتفاق فهما. There is no issue with these two cases. أولا السفر قبل الزوال مع تبييت النية. The first group says if it is before zawal you break. The second group says if you have niyyah of safar you break. So if you have niyyah and travel before zuhr, you satisfy requirements of both groups. Okay, so according to both groups of hadith you have to break. فإنهما متفقتان على لزوم الإفطار. Because for one of them tabyit of niyyah is more important, for the other one to travel in the morning is important. You have satisfied both groups of hadith. Number two, السفر بعد الزوال من دون تبييت. If you travel after Zuhr, the first group said it's okay. The second group doesn't bother that much about Zuhr, but they say because you had no niyyah of traveling, you have to fast. فإنهما متفقتان على لزوم الصوم. Okay, so we don't have issue in these two cases. أما مورد التعارض فهما, two cases of ta'aruz. You can now guess what is the problem. السفر قبل الزوال مع عدم التبييت. According to first group of hadith, السفر قبل الزوال يوجب الإفطار. According to the second, if there was no tabyit or niyyah, you should fast. There is conflict. The second case of conflict is السفر بعد الزوال. مع التبييت. The first group says بعد الزوال fasting should continue and it's okay. But the second group says if you had niyyah of traveling, even if it is after Zuhr, it's a problem. So we have two cases of اتفاق, two cases of تعارض. هل التعارض في هذين الموردين مستقر? Is the conflict in these two cases stable, or it appears in the first sight but can be resolved? Okay, sometimes يبدو أن هناك تعارض, it appears that there is تعارض, but after careful consideration we see there is no تعارض, we can solve the problem. But sometimes تعارض is مستقر. مستقر means remains. هناك جوابان. Among ulama we have two groups, two opinions, two replies. الجواب الأول عدم استقراره. It means عدم استقرار التعارض. Why? لإمكان الجمع. We can solve the conflict. There is chance of reconciliation بوجهين. For jam, two opinions are there, two ways for reconciliation are suggested, two ways. الوجه الأول. So الوجه الأول للجمع بين الطائفة الأولى والطائفة الثانية في هذين الموردين. Okay? About these two cases. خب. أن ظاهر الصحيحة الرفاعة المتقدمة أن موردها السفر قبل الزوال و من دون تبییت للنیة فإن السؤال فيها عن الرجل يعرض له السفر في شهر رمضان حين يصبح فقال عليه السلام يتم صومه. If you go back to where we had the first and second groups, here you see, yes, first and second. In the second group we had hadith from Imam Qadim alayhi salam, and then in the third group we said ربما يستفاد ذلك من صحيحة الرفاعة سألت أبا عبد الله عن الرجل يعرض له السفر في شهر رمضان حين يصبح قال يتم صومه يومه ذلك. But this رفاعة has another صحيحة as well, which indicates تخيير. Now, there is a question about how to interpret Rafa as hadith, and also whether these are two hadiths or one hadith. So, Sheikh Irwani is referring to this hadith. أن ظاهر الصحيحة الرفاعة المتقدمة يعني الصحيحة المتقدمة للرفاعة. The apparent meaning of the previous Sahiha of Rafa'a is that it is about traveling before Zawal and without having niyyah of traveling. Why? Because it says, what about a person that يعرض له السفر حين يصبح, يعني after subh safar happens to him. For example, in the morning they tell him, you know, your relative is ill and you have to travel. Imam said yutimmu sawma. و حکمه علیه السلام به اتمام الصوم مع عدم التبييت. Imam said you must complete fasting and there was no niyyah before. خب لا يخلو إما أن يكون شاملا لما كان قبل الزوال وما بعده أو مختصا بما بعده أو مختصا بما قبله. Imam in this Sahih Rafa'id doesn't say did he travel morning or afternoon. Okay, just what we know is that someone عرض له السفر حين يصبح, after Subh, after Fajr, has to travel. So there is no niyyah in the night before. So the verdict, the ruling that Imam gave, يتم صومه لا يخلو, is not possible to be anything other than one of these three. Either means يتم صومه, whether it was before Zawal or after Zawal. This is one option. The second option is to say يتم صومه if traveled after Zawal. The third is to say يتم صومه if he traveled before Zawal. Okay, just for the sake of imagination, there are three options. Of course, for example, you can say, how can the third be correct? Someone, if he travels in the morning, يتم صومه, if travels in the afternoon, لا يتم صومه. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But just we want to make sure that we don't miss any option, then we say that some of them don't make sense. But we don't want to miss anything. So there are three options. Either يتم صومه includes whether it travels in the morning or the afternoon, or it's for the morning or for the afternoon. خب الأول باطل. The first option is not accepted. لما كان قبل الزوال وما بعد الزوال. لاستلزامه إلغاء خصوصية كون السفر قبل الزوال أو بعده. If we say it's including both morning and afternoon, means that you want to say there is no difference. خب, the first group at Ta'ifatul Ula were very clear, explicit, that if it is in the morning you break, if it is in the afternoon you keep fasting. So we cannot say it doesn't make difference. والحال أن صريح الطائفة الأولى وجود الفرق, is explicitly. وكذا الثاني, if you say just the second, لأنه خلاف مورد الصحيحة, because this is against the case of Sahiha itself. فإن موردها يعني مورد الصحيحة السفر قبل الزوال وقد حكم فيها عليه السلام بإتمام الصوم لعدم التبييت. Imam alayhi salam said that you must complete the fasting because you didn't have niyyah. وبذلك يتعين الاحتمال الثالث. In this way we have to go for the third option. So if you look at the three options, it seems to me that maybe there is either I don't understand or maybe there was a mistake, because I think the third option actually doesn't make sense. If we say that إتمام الصوم is for only when you travel before Zawal, is any faqih in the world who says that if you travel before Zawal, fasting is okay? If you travel after Zawal, fasting is not okay? I don't think there's any faqih in the world who would say that. Either you have to say zawal is not an issue, or you should say that after zawal, fasting must continue. If you say zawal works in the opposite way, if you travel before zawal, you fast, and if it is after zawal, you don't fast, I don't think this is acceptable. So you please study, do mubahasa, and also share with me your thought. I think it should be the opposite. إذن صحيحة الرفاعة تصلح شاهدا على تقييد إطلاق الطائفة الثانية بالسفر قبل الزوال. So we use hadith al-Rafa'ah, which we mentioned for Taifah, but we use it as a evidence for the second group. Second group was saying that in the night is the main thing. Okay, so we say based on Sahih Rafa'ah, we can interpret the second group in a way that conflict with the first group can be reconciled or can be resolved. صحیح رفاعه تصلح شاهدا على تقیید اطلاق طائفة الثانیة بالسفر قبل الزوال. Yani if you had niyyah in the night before, it was saying you don't fast. But we say no, we modify it. We say if you had niyyah in the night before and travel before zawal, then you don't fast. Okay? Taqyid is possible. If with taqyid or takhsis you can solve ta'aruz, you should always do that. Yeah, because then it is jama' urfi. But what is important is that you cannot bring something from your own pocket. Yeah, but takhsis, taqyid is okay. But I say, for example, the first group was, for example, for people in Hijaz, for example, the second group for people in Iraq. Okay, in this way I can solve the problem, but this is jam' tatawwu'i. There is no evidence for this. You are volunteering, you are bringing it from your pocket. This doesn't work. But itlaq, taqyid, am, khas, this works. Or if there is taqiyya, etc. إذن صحيحة رفاعة تصلح شاهدا على تقييد إطلاق الطائفة الثانية بالسفر قبل الزوال. فالتفصيل بين التبييت وعدمه يختص بالسفر قبل الزوال. But if you travel after zawal, no problem, you fast. Even if you had niyyah in the night before. I have ticket at 2 p.m. for example. I know tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'm going to travel. No problem. وَإِنْ شِئْتَ فَقُلْ. Or you can say it in this way. In other words, إِنَّ هُنَا إِطْلَاقَيْن. There are two itlaq. Itlaq is not something fixed, it's not like stone. Itlaq is based on muqaddamat al-hikmah. If there is evidence, itlaq can be modified. Itlaq الطائفة الأولى وإطلاق الطائفة الثانية. Ta'aruz is because of these two itlaq conflicting with each other. صحيحة الرفاعة صالحة لتقييد الثاني، يعني تقييد إطلاق الثاني، يعني إطلاق الطائفة الثانية. الثاني يعني إطلاق الثاني، الإطلاق الثاني يعني الإطلاق للطائفة الثانية بالسفر قبل الزوال. خب if we restrict إطلاق of طائفة الثانية بالسفر قبل الزوال، فالسفر قبل الزوال يفصل فيه بين التبييت وعدمه. Then we say morning travels have two options. Did you make niyyah night before for traveling or not? دون السفر بعد الزوال, but safar after midday has no distinction, no تفصيل of تبييت النية عدم تبيينه, فيبقى على إطلاقه, it remains in its generality. خب, we said الجواب الأول عدم استقراره, يعني عدم استقرار التعارض لإمكان الجمع بوجهين. الوجه الأول, this was وجه الأول. We use صحیحه رفاعه to do تقیید of طائفه ثانیه, and then there is no تعارض. Now we go to second way of solving the conflict. الوجه الثاني للجمع أنه بقطع النظر عما تقدم نقول. So regardless of what we said so far, we say, so regardless of the first way, إنه نواجه إطلاقين. We have two إطلاق, إطلاق of طائفة الأولى, إطلاق of طائفة الثانية. والموقف إزاءهما لا يخلو من احتمالات أربعة. What position we have to take? He says our position is going to be one of four. There is no other option. Either you say both of them drop, فإما أن تتساقط الطائفتان, both طائفة الأولى وطائفة الثانية drop. طائفة الأولى, I repeat again, says the criterion is traveling before Zohr or after Zohr. If you travel before Zohr, you break. If it's after Zohr, you keep. But the second one was saying that the criterion is whether you had niyyah of traveling before Fajr or not. If you had niyyah, you break. If you didn't have niyyah, you keep it. Okay? So, one option is to say تعارضا تساقطا, إما أن تتساقط الطائفتان, the one option. أو يقيد إطلاقهما, or we do تقييد of إطلاق of both of them. So we use each one to do تقييد of the other one. For example, we say the first one says just is based on zawal, but then we say if you travel in the morning and you didn't have niyyah before, for example, it's something. Or if you travel in the afternoon and you didn't have niyyah before. So with niyyah and zohr, we make two parameters. أو يقيد, this is the second option. The third option, يقيد الحكم بلزوم الصوم في السفر بعد الزوال, which the first group says بما إذا لم تبيت النية. Just we modified the first group. The first group said that if you travel in the morning, no fasting, you break fasting. We say this is okay. And if you travel after Zohr, said you fast. Okay? The first one, okay, no problem. The second one, we say if you travel in the afternoon, you said it's okay, you fast. This is mutlaq. We modified بعدم تبييت النية. So if you travel in the afternoon and you didn't have niyyah for traveling in the night before, then it's okay, not always okay. يقيد الحكم باللزوم الصوم في السفر بعد الزوال بما إذا لم تبيت النية. So only تقييد of the first type. أو يقيد الحكم باللزوم الإفطار في السفر قبل الزوال بما إذا بيتت النية. The first group says in the morning you break, but we make it conditional upon having niyyah. So we don't, in the third and fourth, we only do taqeed of part of the first group, not both sides. Al-awwalu batilu. To say ta'araza tasaqata, yes, we have such a thing that sometimes we say ta'araza tasaqata, but that is when nothing remains from them. You know, if you reach a, for example, crossroad, you have three options. Okay, you can go straight, you can turn right, you can turn left. There is one sign which says turn right. Another sign says turn left. What do? You say both these signs lose validity. Ta'araza, tasaqat. Yeah? Maybe someone has played with these signs and wanted to confuse us, for example. Maybe someone says, yes, but at least we know that we should not go straight. Either we should turn right or left. We should not go straight. Then we say, okay, ta'araza with respect to right and left, but ittafaqata with respect to the going straight. So if you say ta'araza tasaqata, means we have no guidance here, because I have lost my trust. But if someone says no, with respect to a straight, they are both saying the same thing. I think rationally we can say that we lose our trust if we see right or left. We cannot even go straight. So what we do, then we need to look for another solution. For example, if ta'araza and tasaqata, then we go to general rules or general hadith, or if nothing available, we go to usul amaliyya. In any case, this is a beautiful discussion in ta'adul tarajih. So, Shaykh Irwani says, tasaqata batil. Why? Because it's not that they completely ta'araza. لأن المعارضة بين الطائفتين نشأت من إطلاقهما. Problem is with إطلاق. خب compromise about إطلاق. Why you want to compromise about the whole hadith? Do تقييد. نشأت من إطلاقهما وإلا فالالتزام بأصل التفصيل الذي اشتملت عليه كلتا الطائفتين في الجملة لا محظور فيه. If we commit ourselves to tafsil, which we mentioned, to say if you travel in the morning and had, for example, niyyah, then there is no fasting. If you traveled in the afternoon and you had no niyyah, no problem. This much is okay. خب. What about the second option? The second option was أو يقيد إطلاقهما. It says وكذا الثاني. If we want to do taqeed of both ta'ifa ula and ta'ifa thaniya, then the problem is that we would not have then any difference between before Zuhr and after Zuhr. Okay? It seems we cannot compromise about this, because if you compromise about before Zuhr and after Zuhr, what remains for the first group, for ta'ifatul ula? Nothing remains for ta'ifa. When you do jam, you cannot take 100% from one and nothing from the other one. You should find a meaning, a solution that remains part of the first and part of the second. وَكَذَا الثَّانِي, which was saying يُقَيَّدُ إِطْلَاقُهُمَا, إطلاق الطائفتين، لاستلزامه عدم الفرق بين ما قبل الزوال وما بعده، والمفروض صراحة الطائفة الأولى في الفرق، يعني فرق بين الزوال قبل الزوال وبعد الزوال. ثالث, what was ثالث? ثالث was أو يقيد الحكم باللزوم صوم في السفر بعد الزوال بما إذا لم تبيت النية. Says this is also a problem, because no one says that if you travel after Zohr and you had niyyah, you don't keep fasting. لا يلتزم بنتيجته أحد. They say if you travel after Zohr, it's okay. وبهذا يتعين الاحتمال الرابع وهو المطلوب. احتمال الرابع was what? إفطار في السفر قبل الزوال بما إذا بيتت. يعني if you travel before Zohr and have niyyah of traveling in the night before, otherwise it's ambiguous or you have to fast. ملخص هذا الوجه أنه يمكن التوصل إلى النتيجة السابقة في الوجه الأول. The conclusion of this way of reconciliation is the same, but the only thing is that the first one was trying to use صحيحي الرفاعي as a shahid for جمع عرفي. Here it's without shahid, without evidence, wants to suggest أنه يمكن التوصل إلى النتيجة السابقة في الوجه الأول حتى بقطع النظر عن صحيحة رفاعة. خب هذا حاصل الجواب الأول بوجهي. جواب اول was that تعارض غیر مستقر, because there is jam, two ways of jam. وهو لبعض الأعلام, both ways. In the footnote you see this is from مستند العروة الوثقى, so تقریرات of سید الخوی رضوان الله علیه. وقد يجاب عن أولهما, which was using صحیحه رفاعه. I think our time is over and it takes time. There are few points, so maybe inshallah we can continue بإذن next week. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Do you have any question?
Thank you very much, Sheikhna, for that session. And I'm not seeing any questions on the chat. Just thank you message from.
You're welcome. May Allah bless all of you, inshallah. التماس دعاء, please.
محتاج دعاء.
في أمان الله.